So it has helped, I think, to elevate standards.
One of my favorite expressions and an ethos I live by is, if you're not serving the customer, you had better be serving someone who is. And I am a strong believer of my team and making sure that they have whatever it is that they need to enable them to do their job more effectively, to be more productive, to be happier in their workplace. What are we getting wrong? Because, you say all these lovely things, but all I hear is cuts. And what gets cut first? Your training budget, your bonus pool, your reward and recognition schemes, because people have to slash it, burn it, pave it in order to make this quarter or this fiscal year end. How do you manage both? Chris?
I think it's a very difficult question. I think it's very difficult for us to do that. I just to pick up quickly on what Jane and I think the rest of the panel has said. It's very important to do all these things, just as you say, Deborah. But you've got to evidence it. You've got to actually play it back. And again, I think there are improvements that we as an industry can do. Not only playing it back to our clients, but also the team that's affected by any improvements we put in. So what are we getting wrong? I think again, taking sort of a holistic view, one of the problems we have and connected with perhaps what is not going right for us is that we are an industry where we all do our own thing and we all think that we've got the right solution, but it's not within a framework that's recognised across our industry. So it's a bit of what I'm going to talk about a bit later on today. And I think that's a big challenge for us. I think if we think about other people within our industry that work within property, also without it, they will be able to do the work that they do and evidence the pros and cons for it. It's not so easy to do that in FM. How do you actually do that? How do you actually show, well, actually, I did a really good job there? It's possible, but you do that for your scheme or your project or your building. It's not that easy to show that across a whole a large organisation. Like you were mentioning about BAE, I've worked with BAE in the past, and that was a very good example where I was working for a team which actually had property all over the UK, and they were putting in improvements and solutions to the teams that they work for, FM teams, which really worked, and they played it back, and they worked with the contractor who was working with them. But there were other parts of BAE who hadn't done this, and they hadn't got any idea that this was going on. So I think that connectivity and that communication is a big issue.
Great, thanks. How strong do you think, and how worried, Susan, given the recent coupling of companies, are you around culture? Your culture could be eroded, you could be taken over, you could be overthrown, and what's the impact going to be on the teams?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid question, and culture is something that can be almost indefinable in a company, but when it's gone wrong, and I think that is something that is in the forefront when we bring the two companies that we are together. And my experience with Nokia, and we did a joint venture a few years ago with Siemens, and we brought the two groups of people from each of those quite large groups together and became Nokia Siemens Networks. And we did a lot of culture stuff about that at the beginning. And it was because those two companies are very different. I think we feel that perhaps Alcatel, Lucent and Nokia are more similar than Siemens, which was a German company and a little bit more rigid, whereas Nokia was known to be kind of full of free spirits and it was there was a real clash. And we got together some of the senior leaders in a room, and we asked them based on a seascape to draw what they thought of as their company. And the guys from Nokia drew a shoal of fish. So they were all kind of swimming along in the same direction, but all kind of doing their own thing and whatever. And this was how they saw themselves as a whole, a very good thing, but lots of free spirits inside. And the guys from Siemens drew a battleship with a guy at the front going, we're going this way, everybody. And all the people around like all standing to attention and rushing around and the rest of it. And it was a jokey sort of thing. It wasn't, they didn't seriously think it was like that. But that was how they saw, and they were all Americans, by the way, they weren't Germans, but that was how they saw their culture.
Canadian.
Yeah, I know that. I wasn't looking at you. I was trying to explain to the people in the room that, you know, they were not they weren't Finns and Germans, which was how it should have been perhaps. But it was so interesting when you sat back and thought about it and thought, that is a huge culture gap to go from, you know, a battleship and a shoal of fish, and how do you get those guys to work together? But of course, actually, what they are all individuals, and we tried to work with the fish, really, I have to say. But it was very interesting. But it gives you a big help when I went to go and visit some of the ex-seaman sites in how to deal with the people in there, because, you know, people are very scared when this happens, and they're scared that they're going to lose the things that are familiar to them. They're scared they're going to lose their jobs to start with, but, you know, when they've done things in a certain way, when they have certain processes, and so you have to be very careful when you do it and when you talk to people. But I think what we're really trying to do in FM at the moment is, and there's a senior leadership team meeting going on in Paris at the moment, but one of the things they're talking about is how to look at the processes that we use in FM and how we can take the best of both sides and bring them together without destroying them, because that doesn't always work, you know, if you say. And so that's what we're working on at the moment, to try and make sure that we have a robust set of procedures and processes using everything that's hopefully the best of each side, and end up with something that's going to work for everybody and not feel, so nobody feels too alienated and, oh my goodness, we have to change everything. And that's the way we're kind of trying to move forward. But as it only happened on January the 15th, so we're still early days.
White knuckling.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to do an experiment, if I can, because Susan talked about culture. If I say something to you, can you tell me who the company is? Just do it.
Nike.
Absolutely, positively must get there overnight.
DHL?
Federal Express.
Mm.
I'm loving it.
McDonald's?
The real thing.
Coke?
Ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. Ritz-Carlton. The interesting thing is that you all knew that. That is the culture of that organization, of which none of you belong. And yet you all knew that. And that's the interesting thing about culture, is that it gives something for people to work towards. It does what it says on the tin. And Jane, you know, I'm quite confident that your new learning and development person knows that. And that's what they're trying to do, is to get everybody to pull in the same direction, to have all the fish, as individual as they are, with all their bright colors and teeth and not teeth, swimming in the same direction, is paramount to creating an organization that's successful. But how do you get team members engaged in that? How do you get team members of different levels, of different backgrounds, of different positions engaged in wanting continuous improvement? Jane?
Again, as part of our sort of learning program and our recruitment and induction, our values are at the core of whatever we do. And
Sorry, can I stop you right there?
Yes.
How many of you know the values of your company? Like, honestly. Half. And you're the leaders. So there's not a hope in hell that anybody further down the line know what they are or what the vision statement is. So it's really difficult to ask for that if we don't even at least know it. You have to first learn your lines before you can act. If we don't even know the lines, we can't be on that stage.
That's very appropriate in our industry. And yeah, I mean, our mission is simply take the best of Wales to the world and bring the best of the world to Wales. And that is what we try and do, is whatever anybody's role is within that centre. And like I said, it's so diverse, is how are they working towards that? And one of the workshops that we run is contributing to our business plan. So we talk through our business plan, some of the headlines, and get everybody to feed into where they feel they sit within that business plan and what they can do to help achieve it. At our big staff meetings, we encourage that feedback and generation of ideas on, for instance, how to promote our last show, which staged at the end of March, our very own production. We set a competition for people to, make sure that they were referring friends and family and they could win a trip. we were trying to really get